Welcome to the Lack of Interesting Conversation podcast with me, your host, Trey Mendenhall, your favorite podcast in the world. So I want to welcome you to episode number 24 for live. Uh, thank you once again for joining me. I appreciate it so much. As you can tell, we are doing a little something different tonight. Had some technical difficulties with recording the podcast the normal way I normally do. So this will be different. Hopefully, next week we'll be back to normal. But I appreciate you joining me again. Again, just make sure you follow us on Facebook at Lack of Interesting Conversation. And also, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Trey_Mendenhall, where I post little short clips every week of the podcast. So I appreciate it if you just go follow me on there. And I'll also please make sure you like this podcast, share this podcast, subscribe to us on YouTube. Just search up the podcast on YouTube. That's how you'll find us there. That is exclusive home at the moment of the podcast video version. So when I'm talking about, when I'm sharing, like an album cover, something like this, something like that, I got notes today. You can actually see what I'm actually talking about. I normally do with albums. Like usually, if I'm talking about music, I have the album. I share the album cover on the actual podcast, video podcast. But obviously today, I alluded to last week at the beginning of last week's podcast. I know we had two different subjects. I talked about the NFL games so far that were released. So this week this past Thursday, the NFL actually dropped the complete 272 game schedule for this coming NFL season. So you know by now what your favorite team's schedule is and how tough it is, or how easy you may think it is, or if your team's going from worst to first or first to last, or going to slip up or make it to the Super Bowl like most teams do. Fans do think anyway. We'll see. But anyway, with that release, they usually talk about how who has the toughest schedule this upcoming season. The strength of schedules usually are determined by the winning percentage of the teams, of the total winning percentage of the team your team is facing this year based on their winning percentage of the their total wins from the previous season. So the hardest schedule this year is actually the Chicago Bears. They're coming off their best season since 2010, probably, where they were one game away from, one game. They were an interception away from going to their first NFC Championship games of 2010. The Jay Cutler led Bears, that was the last time they were there. Made it that far. The percentage is 550. The next schedule behind them is the Miami Dolphins, and then the next below them, the third, is the Arizona Cardinals. Both those teams obviously in rebuild modes. Both teams starting quarterbacks from last year. Both teams, when they drafted, like Miami, when they drafted Tua Tagovailoa, they thought he was the franchise guy coming out of Alabama. And just like the Arizona Cardinals did. Same thing with Kyler Murray. Both those guys are gone. Tua being in Atlanta with the Falcons now, competing with Michael Penix Jr. For the starting job, maybe. Not sure if the NFL that might be the first QB locker room to have two left-handed quarterbacks competing for the starting job. Two left-handed quarterbacks on the same team. That's very rare. Since most quarterbacks are right-handed, it's rare that it even works out for a left-handed quarterback to be a good, I guess, successful. Anyway, not very many successful left-handed quarterbacks. The most successful one you could probably think of is Steve Young with the 49ers, Tampa Bay, but he started out with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think he was also in USFL. I'm not 100% sure about that. Kyler Murray with the Arizona Cardinals he's with the Minnesota Vikings now. It'll be interesting to see how those two teams. I'm sure they have some quote unquote tanking plans in mind for like Arch Manning or somebody like that. Since this next quarterback class looks to have quite a bit of quality starters, but that all depends on how this fall goes with all those quarterbacks in the at their schools. Um, like with Arch Manning specifically being the most recognizable name, with him being obviously Manning, Koopa's son, Eli, and Peyton's nephew. It really just didn't where they go with the Dolphins. Their percent is 542, and Cardinals is 538, and the Packers are actually tied with them as they are the next team with the fourth schedule. Technically, they're tied for third, but Packers, they were the seventh seed last year in the NFC playoff picture. I think they barely got it. Ended up losing to their original rival, Chicago Bears, in that playoff game. Then you got the Chiefs as the fifth, as we're just doing the top five. And we'll see, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Mahomes boy, Patrick Mahomes, coming off a injury that took him out, and they had a much disappointing year. I think it was actually Patrick Mahomes' first ever losing season in the NFL. It'll be interesting to see as their superstars are aging. With Travis Kelce, didn't even know he was going to be there this fall, but he is. And now we switch over to the easiest schedule, the top 5 easiest schedules, and according to the winning percentages of the teams from last year. You have the Browns. Browns number 1 easiest schedule in the NFL, but I mean the Browns, they got a great defense, but that offense is always lacking. They don't even really know who the quarterback is going to be. I mean, you got Shador, you got Deshaun Watson still there, which is kind of hard to believe. That felt like that trade happened forever ago. Then I think Dylan Gabriel's still there, but that experiment's probably over. But who knows? Then you got the Saints. I think they're rolling with the kid they drafted last year from Purdue as quarterback, but let's see. I can't remember who they drafted. I think they drafted a receiver in the draft. That is obviously they need skill position players. You still got Alvin Kamara in the backfield. I don't know how much he has left in the tank. Product of Tennessee. It'll be interesting to see what in the heck they do, how he does. Got Chris Olave, who I think is pretty good from Ohio State. And that defense. I know they got rid of Cam Jordan, the most tenured defensive player they had. I don't know. I guess I really don't know much about them. It'll just be interesting to see. Then the other third easy schedule was the Bengals, the Cincinnati Bengals, who I do expect to have a bounce back year, as long as Joe Burrow can stay healthy and that O-line can protect him, as they did not have a first round pick this year, and they traded to the New York Giants for Dexter Lawrence to help boast up that defense. That's really been a big issue since since they went to the Super Bowl and lost the Rams. But that O-line's been pretty awful, basically Joe Burrow's entire career. You don't want another, I guess, Andrew Luck situation, although I don't know how comparable Andrew Luck's and Joe Burrow's situation is, that with Joe actually leading his team to a Super Bowl. But that offense has proven to be pretty explosive when healthy. When you get Jamar Chase, arguably the best receiver in the game, and you got T. Higgins, a heck of a number 2 target for Joey B. As long as if that defense just improves a little bit, and Joe Burrow can stay healthy and that his O-line can protect them, I think they'll be dangerous and be in a playoff hunt, 100% sure. Then you get the Atlanta Falcons as the 4th easiest schedule. I mean, my goodness, they're kind of in disarray. I know they got released, they got new uniforms coming into the season, but then you got the Colts, the 5th easiest schedule. It'll be interesting to see as they re-sign Daniel Jones to a 2-year, $88 million quarterback contract. It is up to $100 million with all kinds of with the bonus incentives. I think 50 of it was guaranteed at signing. The day he signed it, the day he put pen to paper, he got $50 million guaranteed. How incredible that would be to just get to that. Almost I just for your paper and I get $50 million. But obviously they didn't have a first round pick this year as they traded it to the Jets for Sauce Gardner, who did not pan out very well last year as they were trying to go all in. Because I think when they traded for Sauce, um, they were, I think, 8-1, 8-2, running away with the AFC South, the biggest surprise of the season so far. But then in the second half, they kind of collapsed with Jacksonville on the rise and taking over uh, that that division. It'll be interesting to see with the fifth easiest schedule, can they make another run here? Are they able to put things together? Are things able to come together for them as would like every team would like them to? So you can make that deep, go win the division, make a deep, go get in the playoffs and make a deep playoff run. Hopefully get to the Super Bowl. But it'll be interesting to see. And then I know with the NFL, as many of you know, if you're an NFL fan, the NFL is trying to broaden its reach worldwide, as they've had a footprint in London for years now. They even tried it with having an NFL Europe, a league that folded, that was around for a few years in like the late '90s, early 2000s. I think it folded in 2007, I believe. Don't quote me on that. You gotta go look it up for yourself. But that, and since then they just have been like a one-off. But and then after the one game was successful, they expanded it to two, and now they're up to nine total international games. I believe next year they vote on it at the owners' meetings, and they are adding one more next year to 10. I know it's been rumored that the NFL wants every team, all 32 teams, to have at least one international game a season. So, but you can't. You got to slowly expand. You just can't make all 32 teams are playing international games. Boom. The international games actually kicked off week 1 on a Thursday at 8:35 on Netflix. That is the 49ers versus the Rams, and typically Thursday nights reserved for the Super Bowl champions. But the Seattle Seahawks are actually kicking off the NFL season this year on a Wednesday night against their Super Bowl opponent, New England Patriots. It'll definitely be interesting to see how that game goes after the drama with the Patriots this offseason. But um, like I said, the 49ers Rams game actually takes place there in Australia. This is the first ever Australia game for the NFL. Then week 3 kind of kicks off a 5 week stretch of having an international game. You get the Ravens versus Cowboys in Rio de Janeiro and Brazil. That's a 4:25 kickoff. Then week 4 you get Colts Commanders in London. Then you got the Eagles Jags in London. Then you got the Jags actually going back to back weeks here in week 5, week 6. They stay in London for a week. Which I think kind of gives it an advantage. They don't have to make the track all the way back to South Florida, then go back to London. And you get the Houston Texans traveling to London to play Jacksonville Jaguars in week 6. Then week 7, you get the Steelers versus the New Orleans Saints. This is that would be the first ever game in Paris. Then they get a week. Need to get a break in week 8 from international games that pick back up in week 9. You get the Bengals versus the Falcons in Madrid, Spain. Then you get the Patriots, Lions, and Munich. I believe Munich, Germany. And this will be the first Munich game in Munich, Germany since 2022. Then week 11, you have the Vikings versus 49ers in Mexico City. I believe this will make the 49ers the first team to ever have 2 international games outside the Jacksonville Jaguars, which this year, with the Jags having 2, this would be the second time ever having 2. And the last year, I will tell you each team, the last year that each team had a international game. Last year in 25, Rams, Commanders, Steelers, and Falcons and Vikings all had international games. In 2024, the Eagles and Patriots had one. Then 23, you had the Ravens. That was the last time the Ravens had an international game. Then the Saints in 2022, and the 49ers in 2022 as well. Then you get the Texans and Bengals in 2019, Lions 2015. Then you got to go all the way back to the Cowboys. They're the team with the longest gap between international games. The last time the Cowboys played internationally was in London in 2014, where they stomped the Jacksonville Jaguars 31-17. That was back when Romo and Dez was the Romo and Dez connection was still going on in Dallas. Here we go, flipping on to the actual, since we talked about that, little bit of an NFL schedule preview. Here we go, and we'll actually preview the Cowboys schedule. They have the 13th easiest schedule in the league at 4.493%. But when you really look at this schedule, that is honestly shocking. This is a tough schedule. I really don't know how it's considered the 13th toughest. I mean, 13th easiest schedule. This should definitely be top 10, at least top 5 probably. Because week 1 you got opening against the Giants on Sunday Night Football. Then come back home to open the season, open your homestand for the season against the Commanders. So back-to-back division games. Then you make the trek all the way to Rio, face the Ravens, as I said before. Then week 4, you come back to Texas to make the short trip up to Houston for a noon game. 1 p.m. Eastern game. And that game will be very physical, as last year's Texans playoff run kind of put that defense on the map. In my opinion, if they had better offensive play, better quarterback play, that team probably would have been in the Super Bowl. But then week 5, just 4 short days later, you take on Tampa on Thursday night. Then the week after that, you're at Green Bay Sunday night. Then you're at Philly Monday night. Then week 8, you kind of get a break here. You get the Arizona Cardinals at home. Then the Colts. Then you're at Indy week 9. Then it ramps back up when you have the 49ers at home and Eagles at home. Titans at home. Then the Eagles on Thanksgiving Day. Nice little 3-game homestand. But after that, you got to travel to Seattle, which kind of having that extra few days to prepare for the defending Super Bowl champions and how physical of a team that is might help. Then you have your bye week in week 14, which is honestly really late in the season. You only have 4 games after that, because then after that you got to travel to LA, take on the Rams. Then you get the Jaguars and the Giants at home to finish the season in Washington. So Washington, that is really the only game that, when it comes to, I guess, it'd be really having a chance to be affected by cold, snowy weather for the Cowboys. Although Seattle being the week after, like the first week of, which is that game's on Monday night, the first week of December, some elements may come into play, but Washington's really the only game that you have to really worry about that. With the Cowboys, it'll be interesting to see what they do coming off a 7-9-1 season, firing their defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus after that historic, awful season last year, being in the bottom 2 in the league in terms of defense. Are horrendous. They gave up a franchise worst 30.1 points per game. The second worst in total yards given up in the league, 6,409 yards. That is 377 per game. Last in pass defense, giving up a whopping 251.5 yards per game. There's 7 new starters on his defense. Obviously, the big one is Caleb Downs, who they drafted 11th overall in this April's draft. Rashawn Gary, who they traded a 4th-round pick, next year's 4th-round pick for with Green Bay. Then you got D. Winters, who they traded a 5th-round pick for this year in this draft with the 49ers. You got Jalen Thompson, who they signed in free agency. You got Kobe Durant, cornerback, who they signed in free agency. Malachi Lawrence, who they drafted, and that was their 2nd first-round draft pick. And Jalen Thompson was actually the richest free agency contract the Cowboys have given to a player since Brandon Carr's, and that was back in 2012. and us Cowboys fans have been starving for them to make some noise in free agency, which is great that they actually did that. And Jerry said what he meant, although they didn't make a big splash. Even though they tried with Max Crosby, I wouldn't give up on that though. Although if his knee is as bad as the Ravens says it is, a degenerative. But still, I mean, if Max is even half the player that he was, that's still better than most. Uh, Even though I guess the Cowboys team doctor was part of the team that actually got to look at the X-ray for Max Crosby. And then they obviously go in February. They go and interview a lot of defensive coordinator candidates and end up hiring Christian Parker, who was the DB's coach in Philadelphia last year. Helped Cooper DeJean, and he was in Denver before stop in Philly. Helped Patrick Surtain become who he is, arguably the best quarterback in the league. Then he was also with the Packers before that as a defense quality coach. And what he did there, what you do as a quality coach on the defense, you analyze the opponent's film, prepare scouting reports and practice plans. So with him working with so many good honestly great secondary players. It makes you excited for him getting to work with Caleb Downs, with who was arguably the number one defensive player in the draft, or not just defensive, but number one player in this draft, according to a lot of people. But it'll be interesting to see. I mean, you when you're the worst, you have nowhere to but up to go. So I'm really hoping that with these pickups and trades and gets, obviously they still got Quinn Williams there on the D line. They got Kenny Clark still. The linebacker, I mean, you got Deshaun Overzone. Obino, he's been kind of has a big history injury. It'd be interesting to see how this linebacking core will be, as I definitely think that's still a weakness and on his team big time. You got D Winters. We'll see how he is. Maybe he is the answer, but once they get to training camp and stuff in Oxnard, we'll really see where it goes. It'll be interesting to see. But here we go. We'll go to predictions here. Week 1 at the Giants. Dak is 37-10 overall of all time against his division opponents, against Philly, New York, and Washington. He's 22-2 at home, even though he opens on the road here. He's 14-3 overall against the Giants. The last loss against the Giants was last week 18. I think I was at the new Meadowlands. Giants actually pulled off that victory. I think they smoked them earlier in the season, but with Dak's track record and you still got CeeDee Lamb returning, you got George Pickens returning, you got Tyler Smith, Tyler Booker, and Connor Beebe there up front. Really, you got Terrence Hill and Tyler Godden. Those two, both tackles, are iffy. They got to hold up this year. You got Jake Ferguson. We'll see how he is. Spam Ford, who is very underrated. Schoonmaker, I guess, is what he is. But then you got Javon Williams returning in the backfield, who had honestly a great year. Last year showed he still has tons of burst and speed left, and his physical back as well. Then you have Jadon Blue, who they're hoping is the lightning to Javon Thunder. Hopefully he gets it. Hopefully he puts 2 and 2 together with it. Comes to this playing football in the league, and is a key contributor to the Cowboys offense and making that offense return to form as it was last year. As it was in the top, I think the second rated overall offense last year behind the Rams. When you have an offense that's that great, that's putting up that great of numbers, normally you're in Super Bowl talks. But obviously with that defense, they've been pretty awful. And really, I guess I expect the offense, with them being as good as they were last year, I kind of expect them to take a step back just because it's hard to repeat and be that good multiple years in a row. But really, it really depends on how this defense is. If Christian Parker, if they can get it to gel together and gel together well, and especially with that offense. You think, I mean, the offense wouldn't have to be always on top of its game. I guess they can have a bad day. As to last year, they couldn't afford to have a bad day. And when they did have bad days last year, they paid the price. They lost games. But I do think with Dak's track record, even though John Harbaugh's now in New York, and I think it was a great hire by the Giants. We'll see how that goes. But they maybe still installing some stuff that Coach Harbaugh wants to install. With that Dak's track record against Giants, I think the Cowboys come out on top here. Then the following week, they come home to face Danny Quinn, the former defensive coordinator of the Cowboys, after he got fired from his first head coaching position in Atlanta. It's honestly, with Commanders, it really just comes down to, is Jaden Daniels going to be, will he bounce back? Is he going to be okay? Will he return to the same, his rookie year form as last year? He definitely had a down year. I know he did. He dealt with some injuries, and that defense wasn't as good as it was the previous year either. But it'd be interesting to see. But with all that in Washington, just being Washington with all the confusion, just as much as the Giants are, I think the Cowboys come in and win here. And now week 3, you get the Rio game versus the Ravens. You get Lamar and Derrick Henry. This is really probably if Jaden Daniels is now on top, this will be the first game it really tests the Cowboys defense. As anybody who watches the NFL and knows about the Cowboys know that their run defense has been pretty awful for a long time. And when you got Lamar and Derrick Henry here, have a chance to run all over you, and especially when Derrick Henry, the more carries he gets, the harder he is to bring down. But it'll be interesting to see. And with that, with it being the first time, as much as I would love the Cowboys to win here, I think they lose. And then the following week, they go to Houston to face their in-state rival, the battle for Texas. I think Houston comes out on top here. I think that defense smothers the Cowboys' offense, and C.J. Stroud and that Texans offense makes enough plays to help them come out on top here. So they're 2-2 going into the first Thursday night game of the year against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, I'm not sure how they're going to be. They started off 6-2 last year. We're in the hunt for the number 1 seed, 8 games in, but they kind of collapsed, even though they still had a shot to win the division in the last week of the year. If they just would have taken care of business, they wouldn't have had to worry about that. They ended up winning, but Carolina also went 1-2, which put them over the top and gave them the division with the tiebreaker. But the Thursday night, after them coming off quite a couple physical and growing travel weeks, including a travel back to and from Brazil, the Cowboys definitely will be tested here, especially coming after a short week, even though Tampa Bay will too, but they won't have to deal with international travel, which for all points it sounds pretty awful. But then that I actually have the Cowboys pulling their bootstraps after dropping 2 in a row and coming in back and winning and beating Tampa Bay. Then you get that 10-day layoff, nice little couple days of extra rest, and they'll need it then, and they'll travel to Lambeau, which is week 6 here, which is Micah Parsons should be back for this game, as the rumors are he'll start the season on the PUP list, the physically unable to perform list, and this is a Sunday night game. This game last year ended in a 40-40 tie, obviously, and the Packers have just been a thorn in the Cowboys' side for almost the past decade, especially since when Aaron Rodgers was the quarterback there. I felt like the Cowboys could never beat the Packers. They came close last year, but obviously they ended up tying. And this is one of the hills I think the Cowboys have to overcome in order to get where they need to go. And the second being later in the season with the 49ers. And I do think, and this will also be homecoming for Rashawn Gary and Kenny Clark. So they'll definitely want to step up, to play their best. But we'll see how it goes with Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs still in the backfield. If their playmakers are healthy enough for the Packers, same with the Cowboys. But I think the Cowboys finally slay this dragon here and beat Green Bay week 6 and kind of overcome the monster or the giant that is Green Bay that's standing in their way. Then they travel to Philly the next week. This one is definitely be a tough game with it being in Philly, but Philly's so dysfunctional. And it talks about AJ Brown getting out of there, and I do believe AJ Brown is definitely a problem. But is that going to solve everything in which Philly has? Even though it seems to not impact their game here. I definitely can see the Eagles coming out on top here. As much as I would love the Cowboys to win, I think if Philly comes out on top, even though it stinks to say that. Then the following week they go back home for a week against the Arizona Cardinals. I think they win that one easily, handily. Then you travel to Indy. This should be a good game. But the Cowboys are very familiar with Daniel Jones, as is all his time in New York. It's not, even though it's a new coaching staff, but there's still people there to know how to game plan for him and what they're going to do. I think they come out on top here. Then you got the 49ers. This is another giant standing in the Cowboys' way. It seems like every time they come to face each other, and the Cowboys are trying to get over that hump to make the next move. The Kyle Shanahan finds the way to stop them and the Cowboys from moving on. But this year, I think it's different. The 49ers had an up and down year last year. I know they're getting older and they're starting to move away from certain pieces of that team. Even though they still have Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, and George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk sounds like he's going to be traded. He doesn't even want to be there anymore. But and obviously you got Nick Bosa in that defense, Fred Warner. It's kind of be like revenge game for D Winters, as he was a 49er last year. Now he's a Cowboy. I do think the Cowboys slayed two big confidence boosters, huge confidence boosters. I think they slayed two Giants with Green Bay in week 6. Then week 10, I think they overcome and finally conquer the 49ers. Then after that, you get the Titans, who has a new head coach. This will be Cam Ward's second year, another new system he's got to learn. They weren't good last year, and I don't think they're really that great this year. I think the Cowboys win that one too. They get the Eagles, Thanksgiving Day. Now the Eagles have won both meetings against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, and the Cowboys have won the last 4 Thanksgiving Day games. This is an annual tradition for us Cowboys fans. So the Cowboys are playing on Thanksgiving. And with this being a grudge match, divisional match between two hated rivals, with Philly winning at Philly, I think the Cowboys take this one this week here. So they would be on a 5-game winning streak at this point, cooking hot with a 10-day break before you head to Seattle, which you will need desperately to face that Seattle team. This will obviously be a game they'll be up for, especially DeMarcus Lawrence, since he's a Seahawk now. He's going to want to play well against this former team, the Dallas Cowboys. And I do think the Cowboys lose here. So I don't think they honestly stand a chance against there. But I guess the one thing the Cowboys can do in this game and make it a game is get Sam Darnold to be the old Sam Darnold and be in trouble, because I guess you really don't know how Sam Darnold's going to play, because his offensive coordinator from his 1 year in Minnesota and last year was Clint Kubiak, and now he is the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. So we'll see if it was Sam Darnold finally putting it together, or how much of it was Clint Kubiak helping Sam Darnold. That'd be interesting to see. And as you're heading into the bye, I have the Cowboys winning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and losing 1, 2, 3. So 9-4 heading to the bye. That'd be ecstatic. To be honest, that'd be great. Then you got to travel to LA to face the Rams. And the Rams have kind of been in shot. They've kind of been a thorn in your side. They got two explosive playmakers, especially Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, and Matthew Stafford at quarterback. This could be his last year in LA. This could be his last year period in the NFL. Especially with them drafting Ty Simpson 13 overall. I'd be interested to see what heck they do here. We'll see. And then with this, it'll be the Cowboys essentially having 2 weeks off to prepare for this game. I think gives the Cowboys a slight edge here against the Rams. And this will be a Kobe Durant kind of homecoming. He's going to play his butt off. I think this is a close game, but I do think the Cowboys come up out on top slightly, and this will be basically another Cowboys home game. There's a ton of Cowboys fans out there in California, especially in Los Angeles. Then you come back home against the Jaguars. I think they win. They beat the Jaguars. Who knows what the Jaguars will be? They could be really good like they were last year. They could be awful. They've been up and down. Trevor Lawrence's entire tenure there. Then week 17, you got the Giants. Actually, I think the Cowboys slip up here and lose this one, just like they did last year. And then at Washington, I think they go in there, and I guess it really depends on what Washington is playing for here. And I think they go in and beat Washington, and so I think the Cowboys are 11-6, and I think that's good enough to get them in the playoffs and become a wild card berth. So they'll be on the road that first weekend of the playoff this year. I certainly hope this is it. They honestly, for all I know, they could have a losing record, but I don't see that. I think this team has nowhere but up to go, especially after coming off of last year. But we'll see. Anyway, just remember that Jesus loves you. He went to the cross for you. He died for your sins. So you may be able to have a chance to be free and forgiven if you just call out and accept him as your Lord and Savior. So I will catch you next time on the live interesting conversation.